have on the other end of the line Nigel Seeley. Good evening.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Obviously, the big Premiership games this weekend. What is your selections for this weekend, Nigel?
Well, the first thing is, the biggest Premier League game this weekend is obviously the big match between Chelsea and Manchester City. And as punters, we've got to look for value. And if an odds compiler gets anything wrong in that game, they should get the P45 straight away. You can't make mistakes in games like that. So we've got to look for other games. And now the thing is with football, it's not about actually to winning. It's an array of so many different bets and so many different markets that the bookmakers offer that we can lose statistics to use to our advantage. Now, the first one, I don't like backing on things where both teams to score. I'm a bit of a boring punter when it comes to football. I like cheering in a lovely 0-0 draw and watching the reruns of the 101 best foul throws. That's my kind of entertainment. But I think if you're looking for goals, I think the only place you want to go in the Premier League this weekend is Villa Park. That's the Villa entertain Everton. It's a fixture that produces the second most goals in the Premier League. It's the most played game in the Premier League in football history. And it's a very, very game that's always profitable for goals. There's been 3-3 draws, 2-2 draws. 5 of the last 6 encounters between the two sides have produced both teams of scores. And I think this one will get goals. Villa have scored in the last 17 fixtures between these two sides. And Villa hardly ever keep a clean sheet. So I think that's the first place we want to go for goals. If you're looking for both teams to score, which is a very popular market, and the bookies will tell you it's probably the most increasing market on football, that's where you want to be heading, Villa v Everton. Now, a market which I quite like is when you get a short price odds-on favourite. I like the value on that favourite to win to 0. Now, last week, there was a lot of hot pots in the Premier League. Chelsea, they didn't win to 0. They conceded a goal against Cardiff. And Arsenal, they conceded a goal against Norwich. So this week, Coral have got very punchy on this market. They've made some very, very punchy prices. And I think they're wrong. The first one, I think, is Manchester United against Stoke. Manchester United, we all know they've got big problems under David Moyes. I don't think they'll make Champions League football. But Stoke have got bigger problems. Whenever Mark Hughes goes to a club, you know they've got a relegation battle on the hands. They're not winning in 5. They're not scoring goals. They're the only team in the Premier League that hasn't scored a goal from a striker. And Manchester United to win to 0 in the fixture, they always win. It's a little bit bigger than even money, 23-20. I think that's too big. The other market, the same market, Southampton against Fulham. Another game I like. Southampton, the meanest defence in Europe. Who would have thought we'd be saying that? Only conceded 3 goals in the Premier League. Haven't conceded in their last 3 games against St Mary's. And whatever you saw on Monday night against Fulham, that was a fluke. They are awful away from home. They never
Two cracking goals, to be fair.
Well, we give them that. I've scored a couple like Kazamis in the past, but we didn't have this. But anyway, that's all he's done all season. I've seen him 3 or 4 times. He's absolutely useless, and he scored that goal. But the good thing about it is someone will buy him. I think QPR might buy him for 15 million next season on the back of that goal, but he's useless. Anyway, Southampton, I think, will win to 0 in that game. I think Southampton have had their day. Berbatov won't fancy when he gets kicked about by Lovren and Font. I think Southampton to win to 0, 7-4 is a decent bet. And the other one I like is Tottenham at home to Hull, 6-4 to win to 0. No team in the Premier League have won to 0 more than Tottenham. Everyone has this reputation. Tottenham have this fantastic reputation with the punters as being a flair side. Loads of goals when you go to White Hart Lane. They don't. They do what they have to do. They win 1-0. They win 2-0. Hull played 2 big games away from home. They lost 2-0 against Chelsea. They also lost 2-0 against Manchester City, and I could see a repeat for that one. And one final one, and a bit of a fun market. Well, not really if you're watching it, but Sunderland Newcastle. This has got the second most disciplinarian. There's more cards in this game. The only other game that's got more is Liverpool Everton. Lots and lots of cards. And 5 of the last 6 meetings between these two, a player has been sent off. And I think the odds of 9-4 a player gets sent off. There's only one firm up at the moment, Marathon Bet. I think you might get bigger. But I tell you what, I think that if you use your stats there and the nature of the game, Sunderland need to win something. New manager impressed, new crowd, Newcastle. They're always tinkering away from 2 games away from a disaster. I think one of those sides will end with 10 men. So
let me ask you, Nigel. Obviously, you've given 5 bets there. If you had a standout bet out of those 5, which one would it be?
I think it's got to be Tottenham to win to 0 against Hull. I think Steve Bruce, we know, is a very, very negative coach. The only 2 goals they scored on the road were against Newcastle. They haven't got much as a threat as a goal scorer. I mean, their main goal scorer is Danny Graham. I mean, when's the last time he scored? I think you had hair then, Pete. But, I tell you what,
that's rich.
Years to look up. I think we both had hair. But I think that would be my bet. Tottenham are just so good. They're so good at the back. They do what they do. They're very professional. They win 1-2-0. They're the new Chelsea under Mourinho. Tottenham under MVP.
Okay. We haven't got very long now, so I just want to touch on very quickly. Obviously, Ian Holloway lost his job. Bookies straight away. They price up Tony Pulis. What's your advice about if you're looking at a Palace manager?
Well, the first thing is you've got to look at it. When most managerial markets have at least 6 odds-on favourites. So the first odds-on favourite is Tony Pulis. Don't get fooled in straight away thinking it is. I think he's probably their main priority, and I can understand why Palace would want Tony Pulis. But Tony Pulis has a fantastic record of never, ever taking a team down in any division he's managed. And he's 1 to 10 to go down with Crystal Palace. So would he want that Palace job? I think Palace want him, but would Pulis fancy? He's got to relocate. It's a lot for a manager to come in and be offered a huge cash incentive to keep a side up. I don't think Palace can do that.
But if you look at the other names though, on Avram Grant, Carl Robinson, Neil Warnock, Di Matteo, there's not many managers out there though, is there? That might even take the job.
I actually had a fiver when the prices come out at 16-1 on Alan Kirbishley because I thought it's about time he took a job because he's been linked with every single job. But I think it's the kind of job that he would like because he's located in London. He does well in small clubs with not much expectation. Charlton, he was a perfect example there. When he went to the bigger clubs in West Ham when they wanted to play a style of football, he felt a bit too much pressure for him. So I think Kirbishley might do it. There's no doubt about it, Tony Pulis is Crystal Palace's #1 target, but does Tony Pulis fancy going to Palace? I wouldn't want to go there, with the players they've got and the fixtures they've got at 10 on. I think he's much more catered for a job in the Championship where he can build a side and then bring him into the Premier League and look like a good thing.
Okay, Nigel, thanks very much indeed. Just one word, because we both support the same club. QPR Burnley in the top of the table clash in the Championship.
Boring, under 1.5 goals, 3 words.
All right, all the best. See you next week.
Guys.
See you later.